Peggy Cole 5836 sent me this note. Thanks. Can you address what the co-owner of the Atlanta Dream had to say about Cece today? It's driving me crazy that you don't think Caitlyn doesn't get death threats and all that stuff just because she doesn't broadcast it. I don't know if you're saying that I don't think that or others are don't think that. And obviously Caitlyn is spelled with a C and not with a Y. But regardless, Clark fans were attacked again by one of the co-owners of the Atlanta Dream, former WNBA player Renee Montgomery, who I believe is the first former player to have ownership stake in a team. So, look, this is a common theme now. It's not a new thing for Clark fans to be attacked. And some Clark fans tried to sort of point out the hypocrisy of this later in the day because the Dream had posted this graphic online, Chicago Cry with Kennedy Carter, which they then deleted. And the point was, they said bad things about toxicity of fans and then took a shot at a former player. And there's a history with Carter and the Dream. To be honest, that's normal sports stuff. Like, social media accounts clown the other team all the time. It happens all the time. Players get clowned all the time. It happens all the time. It's only in the WNBA where it's all of a sudden like the worst thing that's ever happened. Now, again, disclaimer, none of the hateful, racist, any of that stuff should ever be accepted. Like, of course not. But Clark fans are now being unfairly attacked here. They're being unfairly attacked because, look, I said it myself at the beginning of the year. I thought some of it was a little cultish even. And everybody got blamed but Caitlyn. And remember that people were trying to sabotage Caitlyn and all that nonsense. And I also thought some segment of the Clark fandom was disrespectful to the WNBA players. I thought you could prop up Clark and all the attention she brought without calling anybody else trash. Like, those are points I made at the beginning of this journey. But as this journey has gone along, I've seen Clark's fandom. I've pointed out how Clark's fandom is based in basketball, and her popularity is so massive that you're always going to get some yahoos here and there. But my interaction with Clark's fan base has been terrific. And I found many of the fans to be terrific. And I found many of the fans to be complimentary of other players, to be watching other WNBA games. So it's kind of unfair that they keep being attacked just because there's more of them. When fans of other players do the same thing. When Clark herself is the subject of some of the there was a comment I saw today about Clark that I'm not even going to share because it's too bad. It's too out there. Hell, Cheryl Swoops hating on her every day. But here's what Renee Montgomery had to say, or at least a portion of what she had to say that kind of blew up.
Not be a representation of what the WNBA would want in their league. This is our league. This was built, like, I feel like as a women's basketball historian myself, I've been watching since I was 5. I was here before the league started, as a lot of the fans on social media feel the same. That ain't a representation of us. Y'all not like us. They not like us, okay? So please don't confuse me saying motivated by hate by meaning hating on a team the way a normal diehard fan would. For instance, let me just give you some examples. A diehard Falcons fan can hate the Saints, but they would be going a little bit too far if they created nude AI pictures of Saints players and then sent them to the Saints players' families. That's what Caitlyn stans have done to Angel Reese. A diehard Tennessee Vols fan could have hated our UConn Huskies, but they would have been going way too far if they sent death threats to the UConn players. And that's what they've done. That's what Caitlyn stans have done. A diehard Celtics fan could hate the Lakers. And you know what? If we being honest, that Celtics fan base has definitely gone too far with some of their racist remarks and their treatments of players. It's not okay. It's okay to be a hater in sports. Like, hating in sports is a part of the game. Like, I like when our fans are so engaged and so passionate that they just don't like the other team. But being racist, sexist, and violent with your words, come on now, what are we doing? Come on now. That's not acceptable. I mean, honestly, imagine if one of the stands said the things that they were saying. What if they said it to your daughter, your wife, your cousin, your sister? Folks might be ready to fight. Okay.
I think she wound up deleting this video. I mean, I get the point. I don't know if it's still up. The X post is viral. I mean, I don't disagree with the idea that racism and hatefulness and AI pictures and all that is unacceptable. Of course, I agree. But to label that, first of all, the behavior of Clark stands, I think, is a bit misguided, because I oftentimes don't think people realize many of the people doing that stuff are not fans of anyone, really. They're fans of stirring up ish. They're trolls. And in some cases, they are literal bots. You know, I bring up the election for a second because Russian interference in the election, whatever your political parties are, was a thing, right? Where they were trying to cause unrest in America by attacking divisive issues online all the time. And Clark, in a sense, became one of those things because she was so popular, you had people trying to benefit from that. Hell, I benefited from it, but I think in a way with integrity, versus carnival barkers who were always like race and lesbian and blah, 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 every time. When what I've seen is the vast majority of the content that I do around Clark and basketball is what does better. In fact, when you look at the ratings, they're record ratings. When you look at the attendance, record attendance. Those are the fans, the people watching the games, the people attending the games, not the people who are under people's I mean, look, some of them, I'm sure there are some yahoos in Clark. I know there are some yahoos in Clark's fan base, just like there are yahoos in other fan bases. But I've been online for a long time. I've gotten stuff my way that's disgusting and hateful. I've seen players in other sports get stuff that's disgusting and hateful. A lot of sports fans can be toxic, but to simply label it as Clark fans, I don't think is fair, just because more fans have now come in, because I've seen other fan bases do it, not just outside of the WNBA, in the WNBA. I've seen the stuff that is thrown Clark's way, and I've seen and interacted with the fans. You know, a lot of CCFCs, I think that's what they call it, right? Biggest fans are black. As I've said a million times, this is not a black and white thing. It's just not. Some people may turn it into a black and white thing or try to make it a black and white thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. Clark doesn't get as popular as she is without fans from all over. I saw, there are Norway watch parties or something. Definitely mostly going to be white over there, I'm guessing. But you get the point. And it just sort of tired now to constantly attack Clark's fans when most of these people generally aren't fans, when obviously the behavior should be denounced. And I'm sure Clark fans, real Clark fans, would join in denouncing the behavior. But for the most part, this stuff should be embraced because it's showing that the WNBA is now a big girl league.